Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Jack Grealish. This is a big season for him, so we will be discussing how big of a season this is for him and his career. We'll talk about Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe needing to adapt to fit at Real Madrid. Interesting comments over there. We'll discuss some of the top transfer rumors in the world of soccer. We'll discuss Graham Souness' comments on Bruno Fernandes, and make sure you stick around for the end of the show while I'll be giving you my reactions to some of the top soccer headlines. Before we start off, I'd like to ask y'all to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. So before we start here real quick, just give me 1 second. We have to start off with Jack Grealish. This is a big season coming up for Manchester. Or obviously, it's always a big season coming up for Manchester City because they're always battling for the Premier League and the Champions League. But this is an even big season for Jack Grealish. Now, Jack Grealish is coming off of a snub. He wasn't part of the England team that reached the European Championship final. Couldn't get into the squad of that team, and he's aiming to rediscover some of that ability that he showed. At Aston Villa, and he hasn't been the same since that player. He struggled with injuries last season, near the end of the season, and there was just a huge dip of form, and it was a wake up call for Jack Grealish when he couldn't get into that England 11. He is Manchester City's record transfer holder, 100 million euros when he switched from Aston Villa to or 100 million pounds when he switched from Villa to Manchester City. And throughout those 3 seasons, he's only had 11 goals since he's been at Manchester City, which obviously was not good enough. It's not been good enough. He's never had a consistent set of games where he started for them. And he's never been the guy for Manchester City. And when you're spending that much money, he spent his first season out of Manchester City, he spent it mostly on the bench, sitting the bench and, still trying to break into the team that first season. And when you're a $100 million player, and that's the thing with Manchester City, that they're able to spend those lofty amounts of players on those sort of players, and they don't have to pan out right away because of the sheer talent and money that this team has. They can get a guy like Jack Grealish and spend all the 100 million that they did on him and, not play him. When other teams, when they spent that much money on a player, they have to play him, He has to pan out. He has to pan out for the team. There's no other options. They don't have the money to go replace him. They can't afford to, they can't afford to just call it quits on him, and and to keep him on a bench for a season. They just can't do that. They'll suffer tremendously. Manchester City, they're able to do that. So it's clear, at Aston Villa, he was a free-flowing type of player. He would go as deep as get the ball off the back line and engineer the attack. He was really flary. He had so much flair, so much ability. At Aston Villa, he'd be impossible to manage in tight spaces. He'd win so many free kicks and so in very dangerous scenarios to put in a ball in or to even take a shot at goal. And he had that ability too to take advantage whenever he create his own opportunity by drawing a foul right outside the box. He also had the ability to, or he still does, but not he doesn't show it. He had the ability to take the set piece on his own. That's the kind of quality that we saw in Jack Grealish. He was really an absolutely brilliant player, such class, such quality at Aston Villa. But he did hang on to the ball a long time, and which was necessary for Aston Villa because he was their main guy. A lot of their attacks went through him, and him holding onto the ball was no problem because he was the only one that could create something for himself and for others. He had that ability at Aston Villa as being like the main guy. And since he's got to Manchester City, it just seemed like Pep Guardiola has tried to program him into a player that he's just not capable of being. He's not comfortable playing in. And the problem is, you have this sort of free-flowing game. The game that he has is so free-flowing. It's confidence-driven. It's form-driven. You go in to Manchester City and your manager's trying to completely program you into playing a completely different sort of way. And then you start second-guessing. You get on the pitch and you start second-guessing things. Should I dribble past him or should I just make the easy pass and move? Should I do this? Should I do that? You get in your head too much, and you can see whenever Jack Grealish is on the pitch, he just seems like a player that's in his head too much. He doesn't take over the games like he could. Even the few times where he says, "Okay, I'm just gonna take him on," he still shows that he has quality. We just don't see enough of it. And really it's a shame because Doku, he's came in and he's kind of a direct sort of style of play, different sort of style of player as Grealish, but he's someone that loves to take on a defender one-on-one, and he's not necessarily a guy that'll get the ball and quickly move it. He's not one of those sort of tiki-taka players. He's a direct sort of player that's willing to take on guys and create space and all that, and he's done that, and in my opinion, he was really good at Manchester City this season, and I think he's only going to get better. So, yeah, it's just not confusing, but it's disappointing what Jack Grealish has done. 11 goals in 3 seasons is unbelievably bad for that amount of money. There's no two ways about it. That's an unbelievable stat. I couldn't even believe it when I was doing my research pre-show. 11 goals in 74 appearances. And he wasn't really necessarily a goal scorer in general. He's like a hybrid winger, attacking midfielder with a lot of flair and creativity. But still, even at Aston Villa, he had 29 goals and 185 appearances. But when you get to that next level on Manchester City, you're expecting your goal tally to go up because they can key in on Jack Grealish the same way they were able to key in on Jack Grealish when he was at Aston Villa, when they didn't have to worry about world-class Holland on going through the middle and world-class Riyad Mahrez on the other side, or Riyad Mahrez or Jeremy Doku or whatever. You didn't have to worry about a world-class winger on the other side, all these world-class players, so they could key in on Aston Villa and really man mark him and really key in on him. So it's understandable maybe why his 29 goals and 185 appearances there. But you go to a club like Manchester City, you're expecting your goal tally to potentially even go up in that situation because there's not going to be players keying in on you. You're not going to get man marked the same way you were getting man marked at Aston Villa. And yeah, it really is a shame. It really is a shame. But let's put this in perspective. This is a guy, he's not old. He's only 28. Seems like he's been around for a little while, which he has, but he's only a 28-year-old. And this is his 4th season at Manchester City, so you could say, maybe this is the time, maybe the time off from this summer. Not playing with England is going to do him better. Maybe he gets more fit. Maybe he continues his training. Maybe he continues to try to adapt to Pep Guardiola's way. which I still think he hasn't fully adapted. And yeah, I'm interested to see now. It's a huge, huge summer. By the way, um, with the Grealish preparing fully for this season coming up with now playing Europe, there is still the factor of Savinho has came in, which adds more competition to Jack Grealish. And keep in mind, this is a Savinho that if Pep Guardiola has been raving about the past few days, about the quality he has. So Jack Grealish is going to continue to have, well, and that's not, you know, that's expected. At Manchester City, you're going to have competition. There's no two ways about it. The competition is going to be there. It's going to be fierce, and it's going to be fascinating. But can he live up? Can he live up? Can Jack Grealish live up to that $100 million price tag? And Grealish is under contract until 2007, and City have no, like, there's no rumors of them selling them. But, you know, future of Jack Grealish and Manchester City, from Grealish side and City side, if he doesn't come out and have an amazing season this season, the huge pressure is on, because this is sort of the make or break. You can have your couple of struggles here and there, but now you have your full summer to prepare. This is your fourth season in. There's no excuses. You've had more than enough time to adapt to what Guardiola wants you to do. There's really, like, it's really getting to the point now, like, you have to put up or shut up. You know, you have to, the performances have to be in there. You have to play amazing, and you have to prove that you're worth that price tag. And you don't want to fall out too much out of favor with England. Now, I know it makes it a little bit different with this new manager coming in, but missing the European Championship on top of that, you know, it makes it even more, increases the pressure entering this season even more, because you don't want to get to the point that people forgetting who Jack Grealish is. You know, people, it's going to get to the point that, you know, whenever people are talking about England call-ups, they're not even going to acknowledge Jack Grealish's name. Like, you know, Jack Grealish does not want to put himself in that position. The improvement needs to come, and it needs to come fast. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe needing to fit at Real Madrid.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe adapting to fit at Real Madrid. We move on to discuss Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe. Before the break, we talked about how big of a season will this be for Jack Grealish. We move on to discuss Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe adapting to fit at Real Madrid. Let's pull up those comments real quick from Carlo Ancelotti. So discussing, when asked about Mbappe's preference by this actually happened to be on John Obi Mikel's podcast, the Obi-Wan podcast. Ancelotti was a guest on it, and when asked about Mbappe's preference for the left side, because that's what Mbappe, he likes playing on that left-hand side, which is the same position that Vinicius plays and thrives in. When discussing about that, Ancelotti said, honestly, I haven't thought about it. Really? You haven't thought about it? I really doubt that. I doubt that by a billion. That's all I could think about since he got to Real Madrid. Oh, how is Ancelotti gonna work? Maybe Ancelotti's like this wizard. Like, I'll figure it out. Let's get those three guys on together. You can't mess this up. But I don't know. But okay, let's continue on with that quote though. Honestly, I haven't thought about it. Fitting Mbappe into the team won't be a problem. It's important to remember what he said. He'll adapt to the team. The key is that each player has to contribute talent and quality in service to the team. This is a Real Madrid team that's fresh off winning the double. They won La Liga in comfortable fashion, and they also won the Champions League, where they defeated the likes of Borussia Dortmund in the final, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-0, 2-0. And yeah, they had to shift and adapt without having a recognized number 9. They have to shift, with Jude Bellingham kind of playing that false 9 role, Vinicius and Rodrigo moving around, playing in different roles in the front three, and just making it work, under Carlo Ancelotti. Ancelotti said, sometimes you can play on the left, sometimes you can play in the middle. I see Mbappe, him playing up front, and the attack is quite wide. The pitch is 68 meters wide, and we have to cover those 68 meters with the players in the front. It could be Vinicius, because if I ask you, where did Vinicius play last season, it's difficult to say. He didn't play like a winger. The important key to an attacking play is the mobility of the players. Yeah, look, I definitely see something fluid with these three players in Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, because I think they're all players that are gifted with both of their feet. They're all players that can play different positions in the front three, that can be effective from different positions in the front three, and they're all completely high class, high quality players that have real ability to make to make something out of nothing happen. All three of them. And they're all clinical too in that same sense as well. So yeah, I understand what Ancelotti is trying to say here, but at the same time, Mbappe has had a reluctance to play through the middle. That's just obvious. That's just factual. Mbappe has had a huge reluctance to play through the middle. And for me, for it to be successful at Real Madrid, especially in this first season or two, he has to play through the middle. He has to play through the middle. Yes, you can make it fluid and, guys can shift around, but his main role has to play through the middle because you have Vinicius, whose main position is on the left, Rodrigo, who's adapted to playing on the right wing. Yes, Mbappe can, Rodrigo can play through the middle, but then you're not going to stick Mbappe on the right-hand side. And the thing with football is, we've just grown accustomed to, okay, there has to be, if you're playing a front three, there has to be a left winger, there has to be a right winger, there has to be one through the middle. When in generally, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. There was certain times that I saw Vinicius and Rodrigo both on the left-hand side overlapping each other, and there was nobody on the other side of the wing. And yes, in theory, that makes it unbalanced, but if your attack is effective, having two guys on the left and nobody on the right, then it is effective. At the end of the day, there's no rule that say you have to have, it's just in general as football fans, football tacticians, we think, okay, you need one left winger, one right winger. You need to have a balance in the team to create something. But you don't necessarily need to have a winger on both sides, you can have an attacking fullback on the right hand side to provide you width on that side, or play a wing back or something. So it's going to be a little bit more complex to try to solve than just, oh, yeah, Mbappe has to play through the middle and all that. But just generally thinking at it from a pure, like a 4-3-3 perspective, a front attacking three, Mbappe is going to have to play through the middle. Now, if you go with, something with playing sort of like a two up top, try to play like Mbappe and Rodrigo up top and Vinicius kind of floating in behind them, having free reign, something of that sort. Still, Mbappe is going to be the one going most. He's going to have to, adapt to a role playing mostly through the middle, which he doesn't love. He does not love. I think it was part of one of his things whenever he re-signed at PSG. I don't want to play through the middle. That's how much he dislikes it. He prefers playing on that left-hand wing where he could use his pace to be vertical. He can cut it on his right foot because that's kind of the shot he loves the best, is when he's coming in from the left-hand side and he cuts in with his right foot and he's able to bend it with that right foot, curl it in or smash it into the near post. That's just what he loves, finishing off that left-hand side. That's what he loves to do best. But this is a team that he needs to understand. This is a team that's won a lot before him. This current group of players have won a lot without him. And he needs to understand he needs them more than they need him. They just won the Champions League last season. They don't need Mbappe to win the Champions League. They don't need Mbappe to win La Liga. They need Mbappe to be even better, to be even more unstoppable. Mbappe, is not make or break for Real Madrid. If Mbappe did not sign with Real Madrid this summer, they wouldn't be batting an eye right now. The fans would not, they would not think twice. The expectation will remain the same. Win everything. That's just what it is at Real Madrid. Real Madrid became the first club, I believe, to report a $1 billion revenue. $1 billion made in revenue. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of money to make in revenue. And it's shocking to me that they're not the most valuable sports team in the world. You can make $1 billion in revenue, but the Dallas Cowboys, the Yankees, the Patriots, the Warriors, the Rams, the Giants, the Bears, the Raiders, the Knicks, the Jets are all more valuable than Real Madrid. This is according to the 2023 ranking, Forbes 2023 ranking, the one that came out late September. That's unbelievable to me. But yeah, it really is unbelievable what Real Madrid has done, and it just shows the stature of the club. We're talking about all this, but the whole point I'm trying to make is Real Madrid don't need Mbappe. Real Madrid want Mbappe. Mbappe needs Real Madrid to win the trophies, to win the Champions Leagues, to win the La Ligas. He doesn't have, he has League One, but in terms of club accomplishments, his club accomplishments are very thin. Okay, he did win League One with Monaco, which is very, very impressive. In my opinion, in terms of club competition, that is probably his biggest, or that is his biggest achievement, because besides that, he hasn't won much. I'm not holding winning the Coupe de France or the League One. I'm not holding those to, those big of a standards. In terms of the Champions League, he has failed. He has failed at PSG. He did not bring the Champions League home to them. So as far as that, in terms of his club career, he has not accomplished much. And he has a lot to add to his resume. Now, international-wise, he does have a World Cup, which is, great accomplishment for him. But he needs to add more to his club resume, and Real Madrid is the perfect club to go to do it. So he does have to adapt. He has to adapt, and there's no two ways about it. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss some of the top current transfer rumors in the world of soccer.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we reacted to Ancelotti's comments on Mbappe adapting to fit out Real Madrid. We move on to discuss some of the top transfer rumors going on in the world of football. A lot of rumors. There's always rumors nowadays when it comes to transfers. Been not that strong of a transfer window, but we gotta discuss. Hold on. But yeah, we gotta discuss Manchester City, according to reports, have made a concrete offer to try to sign Dani Olmo from Leipzig. This is according to some sources in France. Manchester City are interested in him, who's also been on the radar of Barcelona. This is a Dani Olmo that gives you something special in the fact that he has a great capacity to get into the box and score goals. He has a great first touch, very good quality, very good in tight spaces like every other Spanish player. Really good in midfield. Has a strike on him as well. And he has flexibility, he can play on that left-hand side, cutting onto his right foot, being those sort of ball retention type of wingers. Not much to give, he won't be much direct, but he has huge quality there. He also has the ability to play in midfield and be a goal-scoring type of midfield. He's always at the right place at the right time, good finishing ability. He's a very, very good player, and he's a player that I'm surprised hasn't made the move. I've followed him a lot since the 2021 Euros, and it's a guy that has real quality, and should be playing at a bigger club than RB Leipzig. Has the quality to be playing at a top club in the world, and I'm surprised the likes of a Barcelona and Real Madrid have not picked him up sooner. But now he's still available, and I'm interested to see where he goes. I think he'll fit very, very well at Manchester City. In terms of Barcelona, I don't see that fit, because I think Barcelona, when you're looking at the midfield, you want to get a holding midfielder there. I don't see how him and Pedri are going to fit. You remember, Dani Olmo came into the Spanish side when Pedri ended up getting hurt. And Dani Olmo, he gives you goals, and he has more of an aggressive way of going about it than Pedri, in the fact that he's willing to get into the box and have a strike at a goal, and he's not just trying to move the ball, he's also trying to score on himself. While Pedri, he's overall just a more gifted passer, and a gifted passer than Dani Olmo, and better quality in terms of that aspect. But I think Pedri gives you more goals and gives you a little bit of that needed element. And when you're a team that lacks goals from up top, the way Spain did, you rely heavily on guys getting goals from midfield, and that's what he was pivotal for that. I really think it was an upgrade over Pedri in terms of what Spain needed. I think he was an upgrade over what Pedri gave them earlier into the team, because Spain needed goals. You're not gonna get goals with Dani Olmo. And Pedri is not that kind of player in terms of, has the capacity to pick up pockets of spaces in between the center backs and the full backs and really make a team, put defense in awkward sort of positions. Pedri's a guy that'll receive the ball in midfield, and he'll make a quality pass that'll open up things, and he'll retain the ball and and he'll be a part of a midfield that can dominate a game because they won't lose the ball at all. But Danny Olmo gives you a little bit of that an added element, that unique element that I think will do wonders for Manchester City, and not as much as Barcelona, because Barcelona really need a Rodri. Barcelona should be looking at Rodri or a player like him, because I don't know if Manchester City will ever let anyone go near him. But yeah, Everton defender 22-year-old Jared Brantwaite, who was actually part of the England squad, is not going to sign a new deal at Everton unless they can match the $160,000 pound a week offered. That's also being offered by Manchester United. So interesting talk there. United's fullback Aaron Wan-Bissaka has rejected West Ham advanced talks because he would prefer to move to Inter Milan, who's playing in Champions League and is coming off a season of winning La Liga, who've also shown some interest in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Brentford are planning to let Ivan Toney leave the club, and they're looking at Igor Thiago as a potential So according to this, Brentford plan to let even Toney leave the club could be on hold because of their Igor Thiago, their other option up top, suffered an injury in preseason, which makes it difficult in that aspect. Crystal Palace, they have agreed to a 15 million euro deal in principle to sign Ismail Assar, the Senegalese winger for Marseille. Now they need to do the advanced parts of the talks in terms of the rest of the wages and all that. And it's looking like Ismail Assar is going to be back in the Premier League playing for Crystal Palace, and provides not a like for like, but some sort of replacement for Michael Olise, who obviously we know has moved to Bayern Munich. Arsenal's attacking midfielder Emil Smith-Rowe, which seems like it's been a while since he was playing in COVID and really was one of the main young guys for Arsenal. He's being linked, he's very, very close now to making the move to other London club Fulham. After Arteta, he actually left him out of the squad in the preseason friendly against Bournemouth in the US tour going on right now. And yeah, it's looking like that was a reason for it. And it's due to Emil Smith-Rowe and is potentially joining Fulham. Aston Villa are monitoring the likes of Karim Adeyemi, who has actually also attracted some interest from Juventus and Chelsea. This is a very dynamic, pacey winger, real ability, and yeah, he's attracting some big interest from Juventus and Chelsea. So that's going to be fascinating to watch, whether or not Aston Villa will go aggressive in trying to sign him. There's money in their club after they sold Douglas Luiz. So we'll be interested to see that. Napoli winger Jasper Lindstrom has completed his medical at Everton. So it's looking like Jasper Lindstrom will be an Evertonian player and will be part of the race to stay up for Everton. Kepa Arrizabalaga is going to switch places, it's looking like. Rumors saying he could switch places with Real Madrid's Lunin in a swap deal between the clubs, which would bring Lunin to Chelsea and, move Kepa as a number 2 for Real Madrid. Those are according to some reports in Spain. West Ham have made an initial 30 million pound bid for 18-year-old Louis Orford from in a move to sign the Colombian. So West Ham have made a $30 million $30 million pound offer for 18-year-old Louis Orford, the English midfielder, and this is in order to sign a player from Aston Villa, their 20-year-old striker, Jean Duran, who I believe was actually part of the Colombian team that played at this summer's Copa America that reached the final. Let me actually Yes, he was part of that Copa America team. He played in one game. Wasn't a starter from them, but as a 20-year-old, being on the roster of a team that reached the final shows the quality that he could potentially have. Nottingham Forest have rejected a West Ham bid for 23 Wales international fullback Nico Williams, who actually, if you remember him, he was playing at Liverpool. One of those youngsters coming up the ranks at Liverpool. Speaking of Liverpool, they have been told that if they want a realistic chance of landing Juventus center back Bremer, Brazilian international, 27-year-old, they have to submit a €50 million bid if they want to sign him. Chelsea are close to signing another young defender. They just finished signing Caleb Wiley, the United States, the American, not an international, not quite yet. I don't think he's had his first cap, but the 19-year-old, he's currently on the Olympic roster. But now they're looking in to sign another defender, 21-year-old Guele Dun from Rennes, in about a $7.6 million pound deal. PSG are closing in on a deal to sign 19-year-old Benfica Portuguese midfielder João Neves, very brilliant midfielder, and it's going to be a very good move for PSG. I think this is a player with some real quality in João Neves, and he's going to partner up with fellow countryman Vitinha at PSG. So interested to see if he could break into that team. This is a player that was also targeted by the likes of Liverpool. I believe United were in on him. So yeah, Paraguayan winger Miguel Almiron, who's 30, and that's unbelievable. I did not realize he's 30 years old. He's in advanced talks to leave Newcastle, and these talks ramped up after they got eliminated in the Copa. And yeah, he's in advanced talks to leave Newcastle, and could potentially will potentially be joining a Saudi Pro League side. So that's interesting there. But yes, those are all the rumors. So let's take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about Graham Souness's comments on Bruno Fernandes.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed some of the top transfer rumors going on the world of football. We move on to react to Graham Souness, who always happens to have something interesting to say. Graham Souness, never afraid to be 100% in his opinion, which we praise him for. We need more people like that in media. And he has came out and had some interesting comments talking about United, and specifically Bruno Fernandes. So let's just pull up those comments real quick. I want to read them word by word, so I'm not accused of twisting anything that he said. But there's some sentiments that I've been saying for a very long time, so I have to say, it don't surprise me what he said. And Souness has been a player that's Souness has been a pundit that's not been afraid to be negative towards Bruno Fernandes. Roy Keane has shown that even though Roy Keane is a former United midfielder, he has had his times of being negative towards him as well. But Graham Souness has been very forthcoming on his thoughts on Bruno Fernandes. And basically, let's go to quote exactly actually. So this was on the William Hill podcast, 3 Up Front, and he talked about his concerns about Bruno Fernandes, specifically talking about he's talking about his concern in general, but specifically discussing when United, you remember in the 22-23 campaign where they lost to Liverpool, and he talked about Fernandes's lack of leadership and the determination he had when adversity hit, and believe that Bruno Fernandes gives up too easily, and he's not what a captain should be. This is what his quote was exactly. When you look at leaders in the modern game, one example is at Manchester United, which is one of the biggest institutions in world football. The club captain is Bruno Fernandes. When they were 3-0 down against Liverpool a couple seasons ago, he just threw the towel in. He's the captain. If anything, he should still be contributing, running around with enthusiasm and helping his teammates. I don't think Fernandes can change that aspect of himself. It's part of him. When he's shrugging his shoulders and throwing his arms around, that's just him. Wow. By the way, this is right after the 7-0 defeat. Souness talked about this exactly right after what he was doing his punditry when he was still at Sky Sports. This is what he said there. Right after the game, this is a few seasons ago. He is obviously not a leader. It is as plain as the nose on the end of your face. He is not a leader. His attitude when they went 3-0 down at Liverpool was appalling. Fernandes, you'll see, be a star when they're on top, when they're on the front foot, and he is creative. He's a real talent. But he showed a sign to him that day at Anfield, which was very unattractive. The manager United have right now is willing to overlook that because he's going to win them games moving forward. Okay. So that was what he said a while back after the game. But speaking of his comments earlier, I agree with everything he said. I think the example of going back to the 22-23 season is a little unnecessarily. I think you could go back to something that happened last season, because this is not something throughout this season. We've seen the shrugging and the whining and the whinging and the complaining to the referee and going to the ground and not getting up right away, and whinging and whining at first and then getting up. And he's not a captain, Going back, let's go back. You want me to give you another example last season? I'll give you another one last season. Whenever the offsides, whenever City were playing against United at Old Trafford, and City scored to make it 1-0, and United equalized, or as they thought they equalized in the moment, but the referee flew his flag up, and they because he waited till afterwards and he called it offsides, and Bruno Fernandes, full speed, running from inside the box, ran all the way to the assistant referee to make a complaint. It's just things like that just pisses off everybody. Like, just act like a human being, Just act like just act like a human being. Stop crying, stop whinging. You want to argue, okay, argue, but it's just over the top. It's just over the top and dramatic, and it's really, really annoying. I have to say, he's really, really annoying. And he does not behave like a captain. There is so much shoulder shrugging, and I love the talk when he talked about whenever everything is going good, and he's at his best, he's brilliant, he's front running, he's smiling and all that. But when things are going bad, He's not rising up whenever things are going bad. He's not keeping the team on his back. He's not increasing the level of confidence in the team. He's not being a captain. A captain is a player. Whenever things are going well, he keeps it well, and he keeps the team morale. He keeps everyone in check. But when things are going down, this is the sort of player that elevates the morale of others, and he elevates his play to really try to get the funk out of try to get the team out of the funk that they're in by elevating his level of performance. And the great players play even better when the team is suffering and they rise above their team playing bad. Bruno Fernandes is the sort of player whenever the team is playing bad, he's down there with them. His performance is even worse even sometimes. He's like you don't even notice that he's on the pitch whenever things are going bad. I mean, how many games did we watch Portugal this summer at the Summer Euros and we forgot Bruno Fernandes was even on the pitch? How many times have we said that for Manchester United? That's just what it is. Let's just call it how it is. And then his behavior is nowhere near becoming of a captain. Especially, look, I understand when you're doing this when you're 21, 22, 23. But this is a guy that joined United when he was 24, 25. He wasn't young when he was ever at United. And this is something that hasn't stopped till now. He's about to reach 30. And he's still whinging and he's still whining and he's still acting like a kid and he's still complaining in the press, talking about the fans being harsh or whatever. He's just not. Look, and if you're a regular player and you're doing all this, okay, fine, okay, but he's the number 10 of the team. He's not. I don't think he's actually the number 10. He doesn't wear the number 10, but he is he's the kind of the star of the team, and he's slowly losing that role or that title, but he's the captain of the team. How can someone that acts like that be a captain? It just makes no sense to me. And maybe that shows the issues that United find themselves in. Of Bruno Fernandes as your captain, if there's nobody in there that has more leadership and has more captain-like qualities than Bruno Fernandes, then maybe you are a team that should finish 7th in the Premier League. Or did I finish 7th? Yeah, 7th in the Premier League. Maybe you're a team that has no right to be competing with the like of Manchester City, and you're not nowhere near the quality of that sort of team. Maybe that's just the case, and we just need to accept that reality and accept that for Manchester United, because he is not a captain. And Erik ten Hag, he enables him by giving him the captaincy. He enables him to continue to act the way he does, because he doesn't know he doesn't know he's doing anything wrong. He thinks, I'm giving the captaincy. I'm being an example. I should continue to do what I've been doing because it's made me successful, and it's wrong in my opinion. It really is, and I don't understand it at all. Now as this Premier League season approaches, and Souness's comments has relit the fire of the debate about the leadership going out of Manchester United. It's interesting to see what happens next. Fernandes, he remains an important player for Manchester United, but his ability to be able to lead Manchester United during those crunch elevated moments will be under serious scrutiny as the season goes on. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we reacted to Graham Souness's comments on Bruno Fernandes. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. We have to discuss, first of all, the Canadian women's national team has axed their women's soccer head coach, Bev Priestman, who was actually the manager of the Canadian women's national team that won the gold medal game at the last Olympic Games. And she has been removed from the country's Olympic soccer team over the scandal which involved the use of drones that spied on the New Zealand women's national team ahead of their matchup today, in which Canada actually was able to come from behind and win. They were able to defeat New Zealand. Hold on. But the Canadian Olympic Committee was involved in this decision. They actually made the decision after Canada Soccer said it made the decision after Canada Soccer decided to suspend Priestman for the remainder of the tournament. But this episode began earlier this week when New Zealand complained to the IOC integrity unit after it said the drones were flown over closed practice sessions. The Canadian the COC, the Canadian Olympic Committee, said the Canadian Olympic Committee has removed the Canadian women's national soccer team head coach Bev Priestman from the Canada Olympic team due to her suspension by Canada Soccer. Assistant coach Andy Spence will lead the women's national team for the remainder of the Olympics. The announcement was also followed by a report from TSN that Canada's women's and men's soccer teams have used drones in the past to record opponents' closed-door training sessions for about multiple years now, and this also happened during the women's gold medal campaign where they won the Tokyo Olympic gold medal in 2021. According to Canada Soccer CEO and their General Secretary Kevin Blue, over the past 24 hours, additional information has come to our attention regarding previous drone use against opponents predating the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. In light of these new revelations, Canada Soccer have made the decision to suspend women's national soccer team head coach Bev Priestman and the remainder of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, and until the completion of our recently announced independent external review. During the initial fallout of what happened, the drone usage and the complaint, Jasmine Mander and Canadian soccer analyst Joseph Lombardi were the ones originally sent home, and Bev Priestman voluntarily stepped away from the team to show accountability during that opening game against New Zealand. And there was actually and she was very adamant during training that she had no knowledge of the drone use. And it was also announced by, I believe it was the COC or the Canada Soccer. One of those two said Bev Priestman had no involvement with the drone. But since then, I guess there was more information that came to light regarding their previous usage, and it led to Canada Soccer permanently suspending her for the rest of the tournament. And this is something that could have huge implications down the line for Canada Soccer, because if this is something that they've done for multiple years now, boy, look out. And according to these reports, it said the men too, which could count at them, maybe at the World Cup, maybe something involved, or this summer's Copa America. So yeah, we don't know, honestly. That's gonna be so fun, so interesting to see. Hmm. Speaking about Enzo Fernandez situation, Reece James said this could be an issue when he was on doing an interview. Speaking of the situation, he said, of course, there's always the factor where it doesn't sit right with the people when there could be a problem. But until the day comes where everyone's together in a room together, I don't know. But I hope things can be resolved smoothly and we can move forward with the season. It's a really difficult situation. There's no room for racism or discrimination in football. I think he quickly put his hand up and acknowledged he'd done wrong and apologized to his teammates and the club for the rest of the people that were offended. I think that was probably the best he could have done in the situation. I spoke to him a bit, but it was hard because we were on different time zones. It was just a general chat, really. His views on what happened and him trying to explain his situation with how things happened. And yeah, it's interesting because Enzo Maresca came out just a few days ago saying it's not going to have no effect at all, and he didn't mean to cause any harm, like sort of defending Enzo Fernandez. But it's clear that it could be a problem. There's no two ways about it. Obviously, it could be a problem, and yeah. Let's move on to more news going on in the soccer world. Oh, the U.S. women's national team was opening up their Copa America campaign, their first major international tournament with Emma Hayes at the wheel, coaching this team by defeating the U.S. WNT defeated Zambia 3-0. 3 goals in the first half, 3 goals in the first 25 minutes. I believe 2 came within the span of a minute. They were able to start off their campaign by defeating Zambia. Now they move on to take on Germany, and I believe on Sunday that'll be a big game. Germany are coming off of a 3-0 win over Australia, an Australia team that did great at this past World Cup. They actually reached the semi-final of the World Cup. Yes, them being home did a major factor, but it showed the quality that they have, and they were able to reach the semi-final. So this is a Canada team that this is a Germany team that was able to trounce them 3-0. So it's a team with real quality, and it'll be a great test for the U.S. And honestly, it's probably a game that the U.S. go in as, look, the U.S. are favorites to win the Olympics, but let's be fair. That's just past glory. This is the U.S. WNT that had a horrible World Cup, and that was inches away from getting grouped in the group stages. That I forgot what was the name, but a Portuguese player had a chance going 1-on-1 at a listener, and she just couldn't get it to go hit the post. And if it's 2 inches to the left, the U.S. would have got grouped. So this is a U.S. team that's in transition. I was looking at the starting lineup today, and it was a lot of players that I didn't recognize. Besides Rose Lavelle, Crystal Dunn, and Lindsay Horan. This is a new team, and it'll be great to see what we can see from this team in that Germany game, because that's a real test for them going up against a high quality opponent. The Red Bulls are finalizing a deal for former Everton midfielder Jean-Philippe Gbamin. The Ivory Coast international is going to become a free agent after the Everton spell did not work. And it was only, 4 years ago where he was, targeted by Tottenham and Arsenal. But now he's set to go to Red Bull, which he'll be as a designated player, in which he'll be reunited with one of his former coaches, and Sandro Schwarz. And yeah. Madueke, he said everything is going to be fine when Enzo Fernandez returns. So obviously, different perspectives from different players, just depending on, But, Wigan are set to sign Manchester United striker Joe Hugel on a season-long loan deal. Burton Albion were able to sign Stevenage defenders Terence Van Kooten and South Georgia Tormenta fullback Nico Akudo on 3-year contracts. Let's just pretend like we know who I'm talking about here. There's not much going on here right now in this current. Jonathan Klaus, he has swapped Marseille for Nice. The right back, Jonathan Klaus, he'll be going from Marseille to Nice, and West Ham have agreed a fee in principle to sign Mazraoui from Bayern Munich, and obviously they need to do personal terms and all that, but it'll be interesting to see if this Mazraoui deal actually does go through. I'm very fascinated to watch. Thank you guys for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us. So please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my